My name is Melvin, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different, different, different. My name is Melvin, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different, different, different. My name is Melvin, and your life is going to change. You are going to be different. You are going to be out. You are going to be bigger and larger than ever you imagined it possible. And do you know why? Because just you and I will find the power that's been dormant inside of you all of this time. And all of this time, you will pray to go out and no longer look at me the hits. You will be the shine. You will be the God. God is the you will be the one that everybody comes to and says, hey, look, they're there. The master's there. The teacher there. The truth there. The one that will make my life different. And if I could do that, remember this kind of stuff. I'm here to help you. I'm here to change your life. Your life will no longer be the same. Be together. I'm going to conquer the world. Before you know everything you imagine is possible. It's not possible for one simple reason. And it is possible. My name is Melvin, and your life is going to change. You are going to be there to be there to be there. My name is Melvin, and your life is going to change. You are going to be there to be there to be there.
And welcome, everyone, to a new program of Uncommon Sense. Today is episode 41. We have done this 41 times already. And we started this whole thing discussing everything from how to deal with the COVID situation, how to deal with your mind states as you are in the COVID situations, and how to be able to deal with some of the other things that are happening in your life and your relationships. Now, I want to welcome everyone into this, but first let me change places up here because this is not what I wanted to see. Now it is. Now we're here. Now I can read everybody's who's here. Can we watch this another time? I will be asleep then. Sure, Louise, you can watch it anytime you like. And Lawrence, welcome. And from Thailand, welcome. And my mother, welcome to the show. What I wanted to do was to finish up the discussion that we had last Friday about miracles and miracle technology and about the discussion I also had with Ashok on his program on Sunday. And he talked about virtues and values and beliefs and how they affect everybody. And Vin, welcome as well from Australia. Just to give you an idea of what the program is and why we are only doing it twice a week, I'll tell you, because I'm usually in this place, this room, and I don't leave this room. It's crazy. From the time I wake up in the morning until now, until if there is no show, I'm here working until 2 o'clock in the morning, finishing projects that I've promised some people that I would deliver to them. They're usually writing projects, books or programs or seminars or events and so on and so forth that they want some write-up about, and also counseling a lot of people who are in deep distress. They've lost their jobs, their livelihoods. Some of them have lost families. Some of them have lost family members as well because of the COVID virus and some other reasons as well. So if I were to run this program, say from Wednesday and Friday, 2 days a week for now, until I can get my feet together, because I've got a console that I want to connect to my computer, and I'm having difficulty without the correct XLR cables and without the correct microphones, etc., etc., etc. So it's very, very difficult to do all of that. So in fact, this microphone is missing a certain part, and that's the part I need to get. And they're not cheap. they're expensive, and you can only get them on Amazon or something close to that. And when I try, Amazon has stopped delivering a lot of things, more than half of its products, to Singapore. So that makes it very difficult. So I'm waiting, and they're coming piecemeal, week after week, and then let me say it in English. The next shipment is due here the first week of June. One or two things are going to be happening in between, and so I'm waiting for all of these things to show up. And once they're ready, then I can use the computer that's meant for all of this in the other room, and I start to create that. And this microphone goes over there, and so I'm working at two workstations. One to just talk live, bring on guests, have little discussions. And over there in that computer, which has more than 2 terabytes of storage, which is much better than this computer, I'll be able to create video and talks like this that would be very useful for you. And they'll be edited, and they'll have little vignettes and little videos and little things. And I'm learning to stitch them all together, because it's very difficult to, when you start to get people to come on board and create all of that for you, each video would cost you $400, $500 a piece. And I have hundreds I want to create. And so it's going to be crazy. So I decided to take a course, and I'm learning it. And it's not easy. Kind of one of those things I wish I had gone back to school to do a long, long time ago. It's like, what did I learn in school? Was it actually useful to me? And it wasn't. Complete utter waste of time. Everything I found that was useful, that could help people, I learned outside of school and through a lot of pain. And if people tell you that suffering and pain is optional and all of this, no. I have to tell you, from the world of the motivational hoo-has who sell their products because they're invested in the fact that you are miserable and unhappy. But my job is not to sell you that kind of stuff or to create that kind of environment for you where I need you to be unhappy all the time. No, if you could be happy all the time, you don't need all this motivational products. You don't need to attend motivational seminars. You don't need to do any of that. You just need to live your life the best way you know how. And if I can impart to you some of the skills necessary in relationships, in how to handle your finances and all of that, it's very difficult when you lose everything to start. Let me tell you, it's not that easy. Oh, I started with nothing. No, not a lot of people. If you take a look at the background story of a lot of these people, they did not start with nothing. They started with a lot, and a lot of people were there helping them do stuff. They were doing it together. And so when they say you can be doing it alone, no, it's very difficult. So I wanted to teach you that those people who are positive all the time are also selling you a bill of goods. You cannot be positive all the time. Your feelings and your emotions go through highs and lows, and the skill is to be able to learn how to think and feel as you go down through the lows. And the lows may happen naturally as a result of circadian rhythms and cycles that your mind and body goes through, the biocycles of your life. They may also be related to the people you surround yourself with or the current situation in the world. I mean, of course, who wouldn't feel drained? Who wouldn't feel upset if you've had to deal with clients or customers or relatives or family members who are difficult, who do stupid things, and you can't stop them, no matter how much advice you give people, and no matter how many times they ask you, should I do this? Should I not do that? And these are people who ask, but do whatever they want anyway, and you feel like you wasted your time giving advice. We call them ask holes, people who listen, who ask, but don't follow advice that you give anyway. So there's so many factors that come into a life of even those people who want to become light warriors. It's very funny. And I mean, yes, the people who are proposing the light warrior things to you and from everywhere, including Paulo Coelho and all of these people, they've made a significant amount of money to be able to sit back and philosophize to high heaven about the things that they think will make you happy and will do this, and you should do this, and you should pay attention to this, and you're this, and therefore you have this skill and that skill. And it's like, how about you come to that position first, where you can philosophize, where you don't have to worry about where tomorrow's meal is coming from, all of those things. And even then, in the world of business, you have everybody telling you now's the time to go online. Well, it is. It's forcing me to go online because all my seminars have been canceled through the end of the year. Not that I get paid anyway. I mean, look, I did a seminar in December in Thailand, and you have clowns who organize it for you and who are not, what's the word, low integrity. And so you don't get paid if you get into that situation. Do they tell you about that? No, they don't. You get into business situations where the people who are supposed to be partners and start to fold shop, and next thing you know, you're out. Nobody tells you about the negatives. Nobody tells you about the dark side of all of this motivational world. Nobody tells you about the dark side of seminars. Nobody tells you about all of that, but it happens. And there are people who pretend to be one thing and do something else. So it's a whole different thing altogether. Now, what I wanted to do with this program is to bring everything out to the open, to be able to discuss with you everything that's necessary to live a full, complete, and at the same time, authentic life. Something that you needed to understand. Yes, it's possible to be in the state that I'm in most of the time, but you see, it didn't just happen. I wasn't born like this. I had to work for it. I see funny things when other people see serious things. And sometimes it comes to a point where even my children have to tell me once in a while, Dad, just be serious. We have something serious to discuss with you. And I go, okay, I have no model to follow for seriousness. Oh, wait, let me take that back. Yes, ex-wife, I just forgot for a second. Yes, talk to me. And even then they stop talking to me because I'm not taking that seriously too. So it becomes a little bit, for me, I used to in the beginning, starting about 25, 30 years ago, I tried my level best to look for the silver linings in every dark cloud. I mean, I struggled in the beginning. It was not easy. It was very, very tough. And let me tell you, there are several books out there that you can pay attention to that can actually help you also. And these obstacles that Malinka was just talking about, whatever obstacles will be, nothing can take away the charm of your caring talk from your soul to ours. Because I want to share. I want you to know that, yes, you can be successful in your relationships. Yes, you can be successful in your business. Yes, you can be successful as a citizen of a group or community and so on and so forth. But there's certain things you need to have, certain skills you need to have, certain pieces of knowledge you need to have. And yes, some people have them, but they learn from somebody who learned from somebody who learned from somebody who got certified by somebody who got certified by some clown. And so as a result, you are now being taught secondhand, third hand, fourth hand stuff and being charged an arm and a leg for it. Why? It doesn't need to be like that. It can be a lot less. Pick up a book, go on the internet, read all of this stuff. I love Bulgaria because if I needed anything, there's somebody who can find me a copy for it, an e-copy for it, and I would read it. And I'm voracious that way. I read, understand. In fact, I'm even teaching myself how to edit, how to set this up. I didn't get any help from anyone, and because of this COVID situation, no one. Everyone's afraid to come to my house. Why? Not because I have COVID or anything like that. It's because in Singapore, if you are caught in someone's house and you don't your identification card shows that that's not your address, you get fined $1,000. Wow. So that's crazy. Excuse me. I didn't do a mic check. I should have done that. I usually do that with a friend, and I didn't do that. As I'm speaking to you today, is my voice too loud? Could it be made softer? Or, just put a thumbs up on my Facebook, or let me know here in this StreamYard. If it's too loud, I will adjust this gain. It's called a gain on it. We hear very good. Okay, good. Excellent. Not too loud. So it's just perfect. Softer, maybe. You mean too soft? Or it should be louder? Should be softer. At least we know how Dusika likes me to speak to her. Softer. Mr. Bozhanov, welcome to the broadcast room. Is my sound? Lauren says excellent. Okay, great. It should be a bit softer. Okay, Mr. Bozhanov, do you concur that it should be a bit softer? Lauren says it's perfect though. Your voice is okay. Great. All right. Awesome. Dusik is going to be very upset. Well, I turned it down just a little bit so that I can get closer to the mic without expecting to make a lot of noise. But this microphone is so sensitive that if I move it just a little bit, or I move anything on the table, it hears me. So if I'm typing something in, it'll pick up the keys as well. So I wanted to talk about how the blind is being led by the blind and into these cherry fields or these rose gardens, and being told about doing this and that, and therefore it's possible for you to become like Anthony Robbins, become rich and so on and so forth, or like Elon Musk to become a billionaire, and here are the blueprints for billionairedom. Here's the blueprints for making this and this happen. Here is the blueprint for becoming a powerful lover, that the Kama Sutra should have actually etched another picture of you in one of the stone temples of India. They are on their path. Yes, you can learn some skills, and that's what you need. It's not how they did it, because the way they did it, circumstances were different in those times. For instance, how did Richard Branson start Virgin Airlines? Story is very simple. He and a bunch of passengers were in the Caribbean, in one of the islands, Virgin Islands, and they were about to go to the next destination, and they couldn't get there because the flight was canceled because of engine problems. So what Richard did was he got on the phone, called his, at that time he was already very rich from the Virgin Records and everything that he had going on. So he had money. He wasn't a billionaire yet, but he had a lot of money. And so he asked how much it cost to charter a flight, a plane, an entire plane. And from that city, that little island, to the other island where all the holiday people were going. So he told each and every one of them what he just did. He got a plane, and he's got this many seats on the plane, just enough for everybody. So the cost of the ticket will be X amount, and would divide it equally among everyone. And everybody was so happy. And he and his wife got a free seat from that. And so that was the beginning, the first charter flight of Virgin Airlines. to create more, more such planes and more such charters. And then eventually he bought his own planes, and the company grew and everything became the way it was. Elon Musk, well, he's a little bit of a nerd, spent a lot of time just focused on his computer and asked himself a very important question. Is there a payment tracking system, or is there a way, a payment gateway that we can create that is not going to be like the credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and all of these other cards, JCP, that are charging huge rates? And isn't there something on that is web-based that can create a payment gateway for everybody in the who is trying to buy and sell things online? So there wasn't, and so he created with a bunch of other people PayPal. And then later, as time went on, it became valuable, and he sold his share of PayPal for $180 million. That's a lot of money for a young man to make. And at that point, he started creating new things, one after the other. Can you repeat that? Well, the climate for that has passed, unless you have that kind of skill. And what is that skill? The skill is to step back from the situation, take a look at the entire world and the way the world functions right now, see what is missing, see how you can become or create something or a service or a platform that people need, and then create something and serve the people. So if you give, and the easiest way to become wealthy is this, it's very, very simple. Give the people what they need, and you will have what you need. And if your need is to become wealthy, well, that's exactly what you're going to have. Wealth by giving people and serving people and giving them what they need. Now, a lot of people have worked along the same lines in different variations, in different businesses and different modalities. And so they made themselves comfortable. So when you've made a certain level of wealth, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 million dollars, then you become the go-to guy that everybody goes to. Because why? The go-to guy must have the secret. How did you do that? How did you climb the tree and pick the biggest fruits on the top of the tree? No one is going to turn around and tell you I was damn lucky. The wind was right. The branch didn't fall down in the valley over the cliff, and boom, 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 boom. And so I made it from one step to the other step, and it wasn't raining. Conditions were right. You won't be able to repeat exactly that, but you can create something in your own space that is completely different. If you want to emulate somebody else's success, you got to emulate somebody else's thinking, somebody else's way of feeling about a particular, say, thing like obstacle. For me, obstacles are fun. They are tiring, exhausting, but you know what? They're challenging. They wake me up to my full potential, especially if it's an obstacle that's experienced by somebody else. And so this is where the counseling comes in. This is where the psychotherapy comes in. This is where I wanted to test myself and my ability to do this. So in the year 2000, I went down to the radio station and I said, hi, I want to create a motivational talk show. And I want to motivate the whole of this republic. And do you have a slot available? So great, because I was already famous then, doing some ghost thing and some other stuff, and I was known in this place as a master motivator, because I was doing everything, and I was everywhere, and we had ads everywhere. So as I did all of this, and the person said, well, we can give you an hour out of a 3-hour slot. Would you like that? I said, why don't you save yourself some time and just give me the 3-hour slot? You can talk for 3 hours? Yeah, you don't know me yet. So history was made from that on, and 7 years, 5 nights a week, for 3 hours at first, and then 2 hours at night. I cut down the hours and I put it at night instead of the afternoons, because I think it would be better for people to be off work and then start listening, because people were complaining at that time that they couldn't listen to the program and work because it would be caught by their employers. And at that time, we didn't have as good an internet connection as we have right now. So every radio program is now on the internet. So as I start to create this podcast and I start to create a necessary new field that's completely different, I want to create something that does not exist yet. And so this sort of a talking to people and trying to help change lives and all of this, eventually my goal by the end of this year is to do this 365 days a week, literally every night, if I can, from wherever I am in the world. But before I do that, I need to set in several streams of income, several streams of things going on by themselves, finish certain books and so on and so forth, so that I can start to create the momentum. And momentum is necessary, because when you start, you cannot stop. You, even if you don't feel like continuing, you have to continue. Even if you don't are not inspired, you must continue. And so on radio, I decided I would test my ability to solve people's emotional, psychological, mental problems in a very short space of time. And since I was the expert in brief therapy, or solution-based therapy, as it's called now, and so we focus on the solution. Okay, we're here. This is where we are. We don't want to go back to your relationship with your mother and go Freudian on everyone. But instead, what I wanted to do was to find out where you wanted to go. You are here. Let's take a look at the situation. Let's take a look at the circumstances that put you here. And can we take you to where it is you want to go? Emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, whatever the case might be. And so people started following, and next thing you know, becoming successful, becoming more empowered, and so on and so forth. And I became better and better and better, probably became one of the world's best. So at that point, I was also undergoing a lot of internal shifts, changes, beginning to see reality in a completely different way. And then beginning to realize that all that I see, all that I am encompassed by, is not reality, that there's much more than this that meets the eye. And what is it? And so I started writing about it, and The Meta Secret came out. And then after that, Anything is Possible, which I'm making a few twists here and there. Let me finish the work of the friend that I took on. It's the equivalent. People ask me, "You're not finished with your friend's Bernard's work yet?" No. But I want to give him something brilliant that he can work with. It's the equivalent of writing 30 books, 30 200-page books in the space of 5 months. And that's what I'm doing, 5-6 months. It's crazy. And people say, what? And that's what you're doing? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. But it's okay. I'll get it done. It'll be finished. And then so when that is out, can you imagine the blinding amount of energy that will be? It's my computer. Talking about fun. I wanted to put a voice in the computer that would tell me what time it is, number one. Number two, funny as hell, so that even if I'm serious about something, it kind of sounds so funny you cannot help but laugh. So anyway, telling you about my story, the reason I'm telling you that is because everybody's story is different. And so what you need to do to be able to create even a business of this thing called podcasting and so on and so forth. I don't know if you've heard Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan Experience has just been bought over by Spotify. They are paying him $100 million to move all of his materials, all of his podcasts, which sometimes last more than 2 or 3 hours, and take his podcasts to Spotify. That means away from iTunes, away from YouTube. And in the week that he did this past week, Spotify's stock rose by $5 billion. I mean, like literally, the change in value became $5 billion more than it was before. One man's contribution to the entire sphere. Now, of course, Joe started this 10 years ago and started building up his personality and his ability to communicate ideas and to be a really good host. And to ask those incisive questions and to relate with almost everybody that he drew from the sports field, where he had large connections from the movie star field and from everywhere, scientists and what have you, even whistleblowers from the government and so on and so forth. So there's a slew of things you can do as well. The next best person making that kind of money on a podcast situation is making approximately 4 or 5 million a month, just to let you know. Now, these opportunities don't exist in a small little island like this, where if you serve only the people on the island, you will die a financial death that is, it doesn't pay you. Neither the government nor does the people take care of those kind of talented people. So your market has to become regional, or your market has to become global. So in that way, no matter where you are, whether you are in the middle of boondocks somewhere, Thailand, you could be in the middle of Bangkok doing this program. You could be in the middle of Bulgaria in a small village called Staroyakovo. You could be in the middle of Perth. You could be in the middle of the United States. Anywhere. And you can run a global program based on the internet connections that you have. And once I finish setting up my setup here, I will show you for free, for nothing, how this is done and how I did it, so that you can do the same. And then you can start doing something different, something original, something that it would be very difficult for people to copy. Now, if you were to create a product, let's say a cup or something like this, there will be people, and if it becomes successful, let's say these piano cups become very successful, people can copy, very difficult. So you are now dealing with the big boys who can copy your stuff. But if you have intellectual property that is copyrighted, registered, music, if you wrote scripts, if you wrote a movie, if you created programs like this that are also copyrighted, the minute you broadcast, they're already copyrighted. And that's the good thing about StreamYard, the thing that I'm using, because as soon as you send them out and they are sent to YouTube or Facebook, as the case might be, they're already time-stamped. And that's the copyright right there. It protects you from many people who don't respect copyrights and so on and so forth. So then you can make a living from it. Can you imagine making a living from something you love and enjoy doing on a daily basis, so much so that you don't feel like, oh no, I gotta broadcast again, I cannot stand it. It becomes difficult. Some people suggest that maybe that's why I'm only going to twice a week. No. I need to learn to edit better, because my edits are sucky right now. And as soon as my edits are better, then I will Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday provide you with pre-recorded programs with that are beautiful and seamless and contain every point necessary, so that if you need to go back and read it again, well, it's only 15 minutes instead of a 2-hour stretch where you have to listen to, and then some of the other guests will come on and then we'll listen to their stuff, and then you have to go through all of the hoo-ha talk before you get to the point. It becomes very difficult. But that being said, if you would like to be on this program, please, where is my invite? Oh, here we go. Copy the clipboard. If you'd like to be on this program, you'd like to chat with me somewhat, and and send it to the chat. There's a link that on YouTube, it's showing up in your conversation column, and in Facebook it shows up in your comments. It will show up in right now, and please just click on that and I'll invite you in, and then we'll discuss what needs to be discussed, or you can share what needs to be shared from your perspective, from all our discussions in the past. You know, when we talked about miracles the last time, and let me just say a couple of things before I address what we did with Ashok. For most people, miracles are something that are left behind in childhood. You know, they require innocent belief, not adult rationality. Now, the camp of vocal skeptics and atheists provide some kind of crossroads for people, in fact, where one leads to irrationality and the other to rationality, you know, as if this somehow defines where the truth lies. But if you don't take away if you don't take the way of rationality, then you will wind up in the realm of superstition and primitive myths and magical thinking and bogus miracles, you know, created by people who already knew the signs or know how to read you or know how to read what it is that you're going to be guessing and needing and wanting at some point. So then you ask the question, why did Einstein make his famous remark? I don't know if you know that, where he says that either nothing is a miracle or everything is a miracle. What does he mean by that? You know, and this is one of the greatest minds. In fact, he's right behind me here. One of the greatest minds in the world. And the poster behind me says, I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are details. And this mind that wants to know how a multidimensional, multifaceted, multi-mind, omniscient being recognizes reality as opposed to us who recognizes reality. So in his statement, you know, maybe Einstein saw that more deeply into reality than maybe the simplistic either or, you know, that skeptics and scientists and atheists have in common. So when I start talking about this in the first part in the discussion with Ashok and a few other people, there is no credible scientific theory that describes how the mind interfaces with this reality. We are told about the holographic universe or the holographic world, that our reality is a holograph projected by our mind, depending on our state of being, into the world. And so as a result, a group of us can have a singular experience and experience the same reality or the same mass hysteria or the same perception of reality, which again may not be real when you look at it from a relativistic perspective, which means that there is no theory that proves the existence of miracles or disproves it. So until we can fully explain consciousness, we can't fully explain the events that occur in consciousness. So that's the difficulty. It sounds startling, but science cannot explain ordinary experiences, much less supernatural experiences. And no one knows how thoughts arise and why intuition exists, where creativity comes from, or most important of all, how this gray matter in our brain that seems like days old porridge, you know, it's sometimes totally dark and it's totally silent, and yet it produces signs and sounds and of this world around us, the three-dimensional world. The simplest and most profound miracle is that everyone encounters every day this miracle of our five senses. And yet what's inside is dark. What's inside, there are no pictures in our brain. There are no sounds in our brain. There are stimuli that our brain produces to be able to recognize the world. What we see is not, we haven't even seen our own face, let alone understanding what lies beyond that face, let alone understanding the next person that we choose as husband, wife, brother, sister, mother, father, lover. My God, who are they? How are you going to know them when you don't even know yourself? And it's very, very difficult to understand that. So if everyday sights and sounds are totally inexplicable, then the possibility of miracles can't be dismissed. You see, that's different from saying that they do exist, because what kind of reality would allow for them? One that is both probably ancient and yet cutting edge at the same time. So, in the ancient Vedanta of India, the physical world was seen as a projection of consciousness. This is how the Vedas started to tell us what consciousness was. And we are told that before, after he died, as they were trying to clean off his table, Einstein had a book open called the Bhagavad Gita, or the Song of God, which is one of the Vedas all over India. So ancient and yet cutting edge. But in the ancient Vedanta, you see the physical world is simply that which we project. Not there itself, but that which we project in all of our five senses. It's also the best explanation that we have scientifically, that is proposed, that this fully formed view of reality is nothing more than an extension of our consciousness. And so why is it everybody sees the same thing? And yet we agree that this is what we see, this is what we hear, this is what we feel. Well, as tentative and speculative as it is, it's a group hallucination or a group consciousness that somehow decides it. Because when you take a look at the smallest particle in the universe, which is an atom, and then you have subatomic particles beyond that, but the atom has a nucleus at the center, and it's got an electron cloud moving around it at 84,000 rounds per second. So we call it an electron cloud. And it doesn't exist here. It exists here because we observe it there. And once we observe it, that's where it is. It doesn't move from that point. So our observation of reality, therefore, makes that reality. So, but yet the orbit, the real-time orbit, if this little microphone in front of me is the size of a nucleus, then by comparison, again, I had a bottle cap. We have the electron bottle cap, about like this big. The flight of this would be as far up as Bangkok, from Singapore to Bangkok, and back again, down almost touching the edge of Indonesia near Bali, and back again, 84,000 times per second. Now, in the world of quantum physics, reality gets a new boost. We begin to understand that the universe was created beyond space-time, that this act of creation is going on even right now, at this very minute. It hasn't stopped. It is continuing. And so the ancient book says that you and I are part of this creative process, and that we co-create our reality. The more we decide that this is the way we want to see things and feel things and know things, then that is the way they will appear to us. And if we do this as a collective, then this will be the reality at the same time. So we're more than the body and more than the mind. And so far we have emerged as this three-dimensional representative and yet also projection of what the world is. So our source is beyond space-time. I don't know what or who or when, but we have a source, and that source cannot be defined as yet. We cannot point to the sky and say it came from here or there. It's in the realm of pure consciousness. There would be no body, no mind, no world for all of us if we were not connected to the source, which is creating and recreating us, and creating and recreating our reality, and creating and recreating our experiences on a daily basis. So what is the source of all these miracles then? Well, they are events that exist closer to the source than events that we tag as normal and natural, because science gets us closer to the source all the time. which is why, miracles, yesterday's miracles routinely turn into today's technology. And so as you get older and older, as we evolve bigger and better as a species, we begin to realize that what we consider now a miracle, probably 2,000 generations from now or 200 generations from now, they're going to see it as technology. And then beyond some, it's unimaginable. So if you had to dive deeper into the nature of reality to create, say, transistors or airplane travel or television and radio, then you take a look back 50 years or less than 100 years, and you begin to realize that some of our technology right now would be seen as miracles if you were looking at them then. But now it is for us something we use on a daily basis. So with all of our current experiments in reverse causation and non-locality and anti-gravity, there's every likelihood that so-called paranormal experiences will become quite normal in the future. Why? Because we changed that thinking. So someone asked me, why are you delving into the paranormal now? Why are you creating programs with these two guys, Eugene and Keegan, about the paranormal? Well, it's all related. We are all one of this huge pie that cannot be separated. It's just that we're not able to see beyond the spectrum, or we haven't trained ourselves. Some of us are training ourselves. And yet the people that question that are the same people that come to me and say, can you help me open my third eye? You've got to see the interconnectedness of everything. So ancient sages, got close to the source in a way different from science did. They did it through consciousness, through prayer. They did it through meditation. They shifting reality through consciousness. And sometimes they call it a miracle. Some people did, if someone appears in two places at the same time. But we, in the field and remote viewing and everything else that we do, we call it bilocation. This has been documented. This has been documented several times with Tibetan monks who seem to have this ability and practice for years to be able to be in two places at the same time and still be conscious of everything around them. And yet every time you have a thought, the electrical and chemical activity in your brain shifts, which amounts to the same thing, actually, when you think about it, because in meditation, a person transcends this superficial activity of the mind to go deeper and deeper. And according to the world's wisdom traditions, this journey towards the source has no limits. You can transcend the physical, universal expression completely. And how do you do that? Well, you just don't treat everything around you as if this is it. And it's not. It's one expression of you. And there can be many more. So reality shifts completely at the same time. How it does it, why it does it, well, that's unknown to us in our everyday lives. Can we control it? Some of us can. Some of us have the ability. Some of us has the mindset in which to create all of this. And the ancient books, the reason that the ancient books calls everyday worlds that we dream in. Try it in English. That was Tibetan. I had two thoughts going at the same time, and both needed expression. What I meant to say is that the ancient books calls this everyday world a dream or an illusion. It's that once you get to the source, then you begin to realize that you can change any aspect of reality as easily as you can change any aspect of a dream that you are in. Some people say, well, that's impossible. Well, with practice, it's not. You have reached this womb of creation when you get closer to the source, and there's no longer any doubt that you exist beyond space-time and always here. So people ask me the question, then what is source? Well, a lot of people call this source many things. God, the universe, creative unconscious mind, the one, whatever, a billion names, makes no difference to you. It doesn't respond in the same way that you would think, hey, God, boom, and he shows up. It's not a dog, although it's not very far off in the spelling, but still, And everybody has this idea of a personal God. It's a self-fulfilling, self-righteous sort of way of dealing with the world. I am correct, me and my invisible friend, and you are wrong, you and your invisible friend. But instead, when you begin to realize that your friend, your lover, your husband, your wife, your mother, your father, your uncle, your aunt, your brother, your sister, your son, your daughter, are all expressions of the divinity, and they are expressions from the source, then you begin to realize that there's no divisions between you. And this truth was actually self-evident in the experiences of the sages of ancient times, where this God consciousness is also human consciousness that has arrived from the source. And so in God consciousness, you don't become the God, of religions, whose identity is clouded by dogma and stories and beliefs and deification and all this different kind of stuff, because God consciousness has nothing to do with that. It's actually a creative state that operates from source. And if you can get into that creative stage by, like I said before, creating music, creating programs like this, writing books, artwork, anything that's creative, even saving lives, I had a couple of friends who had problems dealing with issues that they're struggling with their husbands and their wives. I told them, well, here's your palette, and the palette is in front of you. You're not liking the colors. Well, let's change the colors. What do you mean by colors? Let's call colors emotional states, and let's go back to the source and dip our paints in that source, and let's accept then that it's possible for miracles to exist depending on how we want to recolor our reality. Proving that, you could go either one of two directions. Either you accumulate enough data, through scientific means, and you start to study what you're doing on a daily basis, and then no doubt remains this miracle occurrences then become a accumulation of data in the direction of your dreams, or money in the direction of your dreams, whatever the case might be. Or you begin to realize that consciousness that develops within you, that ability to be calm in the middle of a storm, that ability to be able to see through what you thought was going to destroy your life, what you thought was going to take away from you, what you thought you're going to lose, that you actually have lost nothing at all. That the things you are worried about really cannot kill you and really cannot destroy you. And that sometimes, yes, there is a virus out there. Yes, it is indiscriminately the great equalizer. Doesn't recognize if you're rich or poor, doesn't recognize if you're holy or unholy, doesn't recognize if you're male or female, young or old. It seems to be attacking everything. Now, when you begin to realize that you are, the virus has given you, well, that you are in a fork in the road to choose. You can operate from fear, or you can operate from co-creativity, and then begin to realize that the miracles are indeed part of everything that you want. So how do you begin to do that? Well, actually, before I do that, let me answer some questions. Are there any questions so far? Voice is perfect. Orlin says, I use PayPal frequently for my purchases. Hello from Thailand. Yes, hi. And Charn, welcome. No, there's no questions. James, welcome. Dobrin, welcome. If you guys want to be part of this show, please feel free to come on board. And I just added Ashok Thakur. How are you, sir?
Everybody, how are you?
Very good, very good. My microphone is too loud. Go ahead.
Firstly, you sound very professional with that new setup or whatever you did.
It's what? I'm so sorry.
The new setup, the voice sounds much better.
Yeah. It's a very simple microphone. It works. When I finish doing this, I'm going to take pictures, put it online, show people how I did it, just like I taught you about StreamYard.
Yep.
And now it's so idiot simple, and you were afraid of it before.
Yep.
See, now I'm the tech guy, and you are learning from me. How cool is that?
See, that's what I said. You can even learn from a camel, as you said.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes the teacher is the student, and the student becomes the teacher. What can we say?
Absolutely. Uh, so, what is that in front of that screen so that you don't get too close to the microphone?
No, it's called a pop filter. Um, if I when we speak, our T's and our P's, we do that, and it'll create a popping sound in the microphone. Plus, your fly. It's not good for the microphone. We keep spitting into it.
Okay,
Also,
got it.
also, but it's called a pop filter, and these are cheap. These are like $10.
I thought microphone cannot get COVID-19, so it doesn't matter if you spit into it or not.
It if you share microphones, yes. Depending, and where does your microphone go to? Also, yes, yeah.
Well, the microphone has batteries in there, so we can share it, right? Okay, that's good. Okay, so you were talking about the miracles, like as we already, like I alluded to it, like at one point, and you explained it so very well that to me the miracles are just a technology this collective consciousness did not invent it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because like you said, it's sometimes to explain it to the people who don't understand it, and some people has to have some more logical evidence. So I would say, like, if you can imagine through your thought with complete trust, without a shadow of doubt, that something will happen, it become a miracle at that point for the people who don't understand it yet, right? Like what we are doing right now, like I mentioned earlier, like if somebody would have said 100 years ago, you can see anybody in any part of the world and talk to them as if they are right next to it, they would have said the miracles. And earlier you alluded to the Vedas and all the knowledge which we had it in, even in ancient Indian scriptures or the time, like all the things which, like if you read Mahabharata and the weapons they have, it those are the nuclear weapons of today. If you read Ramayana, like this king Rama has flew over in what they call is the kind of airplane or airplane, whichever country you are in.
Vimanas.
I didn't want to use that word because I didn't think many people will understand. But
the Germans during the World War, Hitler had sent a lot of people into what is now Afghanistan and the caves in Afghanistan, because some of these technologies seem to have been kept there by a civilization much older than we can ever imagine and much more advanced than we are now. And they also went into parts of India, and they were studying Vimana technology. They didn't just take them as fables; they took them as scientific blueprints from which they recreated what is called their Vril, V-R-I-L-L, energy craft, and their Bell craft, and many things. But that was way back in the 1940s, and if I start to tell you the programs that Eugene, myself, and Keegan are going to be creating, and you take a look at the technology that already exists, then you begin to realize that we are in a fishbowl environment on Earth, and we're being controlled to be a certain way, think a certain way, create what is real value. The real value is not money. Money is, look, the United States just printed $6 trillion out of thin air. Thin air. It came from nowhere. The Federal Reserve. What is the Federal Reserve? It prints money and lends it to the United States at interest, which means that you are now a country in massive debt. That your dollar is actually not worth anything. It's like worse than the tissue paper people buy.
I know that, but is worth it because people keep buying it, right? The tissue
The
papers are
trust.
very expensive right
Yeah.
now because there is a big demand for the tissue paper. And as long as people are going to buy into that, they are going to keep on doing it, whether there is nothing to support in the back. But that's why all these crypto technologies are there. But let's not go
Yes.
into that. That's
They
not.
are. They are. Countries are going digital with their currencies already, and China, of course, has gone off the U.S. dollar, which is the first step. And any country so far that threatens to go off the U.S. dollar, its leaders are assassinated or killed, and that country is occupied. Iraq wanted to get off the U.S. petrodollar cycle and wanted to create its own money based on gold. Well, guess what happened? Um,
Well,
Yemen was the
originally, like
same.
even the United States money was also related with the gold. Like every country related with the assets you have it. But then they said, you know
They
what, we
went
don't.
off.
Yeah,
They went off the gold standard. Yeah, a long time ago.
yeah. So coming to the miracles, like so it's the thing is miracles are happening all around us, but the people who don't have the senses, they cannot see it, and they think it's not a reality. And um, once you realize that and develop that sense, you will see miracles happening every day. And I sometimes,
What is a miracle to you?
what is a miracle to a miracle to me?
An
Actually,
example of in your everyday life.
so yesterday morning, I got up and I did my meditation, and this friend of mine, she came into my imagination, and I'm like, oh, I wonder where she is. I want to speak to her, right? And
Mm-hmm.
last night before going to sleep, she sent me the message. She said, Ashok, I have been thinking about you the whole day today. She sent me such a beautiful message. And she sent me like the experience. She said so many nice things. Like I literally cried and I sat down and I said, for somebody, it could be a miracle that you thought about somebody and they called you. For me, the definition is much more broader. For me, um, it was just another happening because I started. For me, it was like, yeah, that. So actually, when I sent her the message back, and I said, because I wanted to tell her what happened this morning in my meditation. I said I was doing meditation, and you won't believe what. And I said, wait a second, you will probably believe that you came right into my meditation, and it exactly happened at the same time. So that's a miracle for 95% of the people, and that happens to me like all the time. It happens so much that I don't even consider them as a miracle. I consider them as like just it's the things happening on my journey, and it's created by me. It's created by me. Like if I tell you the miracles like every day happening, it's like I sat down before going to sleep and I literally cry. Like I literally cried for that.
Are you seeing the comments?
I'm
Dobrin
not actually.
Dobrin says you're obsessed. You obsessed her, Ashok. That means she's obsessed by you. And Gautam says it's always a pleasure to listen to Ashok.
Oh, thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Dobrin. So
Joyce says it's a mask for the mic, which is true actually when you take a look at it.
it's a mic condom. Okay. Okay. So you know where the thought process goes. So sometimes, and I want your opinion on this, and then I will tell you the incident related with that. Sometimes
Yes.
I think by knowing too much about the things, somehow when you know too much, your intellect actually inhibits those experiences of the miracles.
You mean when you know what you're saying is when you know the technology behind it, that it somehow removes the romance of it.
Yeah, and and what do you like if we say, oh, okay, that's fine, like this is not a miracle that you and me are talking, and sometimes we have too much knowledge about the things and we try to explain the unexplainable miracle. I think it's like sometimes you have to shut down that intellect so that the miracle has got a room to come into your existence and happen. What do you think about that?
1957, 1960, somewhere around there, maybe even into 62. Groom Lake, which is Nevada, Area 51. Everybody knows it as Area 51. There is a lot of retired generals, colonels, who are now speaking up about what was there, what it was for, the functions of the base, what technology existed even at that time. Mind you, 1960, around that time, that they were welcoming beings that are not from here, not you and I looking at the way we are. The Canadian Minister of Defense, the ex-Minister of Defense, tells us in talks all over the world that at least 52 alien races have visited the Earth and has talked to people in charge. And how they were drawn here was a process of vibrations, meditations, and so on and so forth. At that time in 60, the reason I'm talking about it, because it relates directly to your example, soldiers, those who were talented and gifted, were being taught a way to communicate with these beings using no words, no language, just thought patterns. And these patterns took the form of visual pictures and sounds that were in the head. So in other words, you could communicate an idea or a pattern or a thought or a picture. And so they could read. And so they understood and they impressed the same thing back to you. So there is a way that we can develop this, and it's called precognition, or the ability to recognize signals that are outside of our current visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory 5 senses. We go through an extended sense. So you have this idea of ESP, extrasensory perception, but it's not. At that time, romanticized. But now we realize it's a part of our brain and our critical thinking structure that we can communicate with almost anybody on the planet, and that we can calm conflicts or create conflicts just by thinking bad things about people. And you will put the seed in their head, and they won't know why, but they'll just hate your guts because that's what they're feeling, and you're reflecting it back. So what do you want to experience in this wonderful unfolding daily miracle of life? Do you want to have happiness? Well, then take a look, and you don't have to be the kind of person that's Buddha-like. It's very difficult for a lot of people to come to that state, because there's a responsibility that comes with that. Because every time you think a negative thought about someone, you have to check it and say, this guy's an asshole. Well, there's a part of you that needs to check it and say, what if he's not? He has an asshole like everybody else on the planet, and that's as far as it goes, and then leave it at that. So this is part of the thinking of behavioral therapists like myself. We call it cognitive behavioral therapy. If your mind comes up with a negative thought, immediately come up with the positive, the opposite end of it, the polar end of it, and it neutralizes the thinking process. I can't do this. I'll fail. I will always. This is not for me. I don't deserve this. This is horrible. I'm terrible. I'm so I was gonna say asshole, but whatever the negatives I could pile on. But you see, as you keep on doing that, you're stacking negatives after negatives, and so you cannot emerge from that. You will drown under the barrage of thoughts. So psychotherapists come in, and every time you say, "I can't do that," I think I can, though. What makes me think I cannot do that? What do you think is stopping you? Well, because the monsters will come up and eat me. What if the monsters don't come up and eat you? What if there are no monsters? Well, that's an interesting thought, and your brain doesn't think about that. It starts to pile on. So that's why it's very difficult to talk to people who have certain mental proclivities towards negativity. It's almost genetic, it seems like. But then your job and my job is to change that prospect, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Dobrin says, how can we know what is the reason for something to happen? As example, the Ashok situation. Is it she appear in his meditation because she thinks for him? Or is it she thinks for him because of his meditation? Or because none of this and is something else?
You want to answer that, Dr. Gill?
Short answer, who the fuck knows? Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
I don't know. You know, like one of my mantra is, I don't know. That opens it up for the possibilities.
In this situation, I can tell you one thing that does work. Mm-hmm. If you think of anyone, Dobrin, anyone, that person is now thinking of you, because you've seeded a thought in that person's head. And depending on what you're thinking immediately after that, the rest of the thoughts will go into their head as well. So if you're thinking an erotic thought of someone, well, guess what? They're going to have thoughts, and they're not going to share why they're feeling the eroticism. And if they don't like you for some reason, well, that's going to repulse them. It's not going to make them feel good at all. So you have to understand that even though Ashok goes to places and bars and what have you, and he tries to approach women and so on and so forth, that actually it's done before he gets to the bar.
Actually, I did not even realize, like people observe it, like people, because I don't care. And still, I have that podcast, which I already mentioned, Brian was on my show, which is the top 100 Apple podcast. And they mentioned my whole scenario in there. Like they said, well, you want to be like him, even though their podcast is Men Amongst Men. That is the name, actually. They said, you want to be like him, he will approach this person and he talk with that person. And yes, he does have an intention behind it, but his intention may be just to connect with that person, right? And it doesn't always have to be sexual or erotic intention. And the other person, he put in the seed in that other person. And then they feel like even if he walks away from it, and they were mentioning it, I thought it was funny. They said, oh, if he would go over there and he say, hey, how are you? And she didn't give a response. He said, thank you very much. So that we did not waste any time over here, because you are obviously not interested in whatever we are going to. And he moves to the person right next to her and start talking with that person. So it always is like what you want to create, and you don't have to create exactly the same thing which you wanted.
You are legendary, my friend. You are now the stuff of legends.
But I see a comment. Vin Raj said, don't miracles happen when you are not thinking about it? So I want to so the miracles, what my way of doing it, and I'm not saying that's the right way or not, you think about it, but once you thought about it, don't dwell on it. You let it go and then forget about it, and then it will happen at some point while you are going through your journey, when you are not actually even thinking about it. But at one point, like you have to think about what you want to happen. And then let it go. If you don't let it go, if you keep on thinking, that is the one which will make you crazy, and that miracle will not happen. And that's my thought process on that. And again, the thing is, I think sometimes like our mind takes over and stop the things from happening. If we don't believe it, like why doesn't, like people ask me all the time, like why don't I get $100 million lotto? And I said, because you don't trust that process. You don't think you are going to win it. Like I've gone to the lotto store and somebody buying lotto in front of me, and I said, "Oh, good luck," and she said, "Oh, I'm not going to get it." I'm like, "You are exactly right." And sometimes people get upset. I'm like, because if you are not going to get it, isn't that the stupidest idea in the world, that you already know it's not going to happen? You're still wasting your time and energy on that. So you have to be totally believe it that the things will happen. Like I tell you, I did not believe it at one point. Like these these entities which talk to people, and like whatever you want to call it, right, uh, are really talking to people, and I thought those people were speaking about it. And I had experience, like on the New Year Eve, like of 2019, when the 2019 was going to start. One of my friends, um, from LA, this beautiful girl, like she called me and she said, "Ashok, I want to be in your energy for this new year." And I'm like, "Okay, fine."
That's usually your line, isn't it?
No, I don't use that, because I call it like the spiritual pickup line, where all these people with all the hoo-ha and everything, now rather than saying, like, because now in certain circles saying you are beautiful is become like, "Oh, why he gave me this comment, it's a sexist, racist," or whatever you want to say. Now people say, "I love your energy." I'm like, uh so you want to have
It's
sex, right?
it's the safest way to give someone a compliment. I love your energy.
Yeah.
And what
And
does that mean? And then everybody goes, "What does?
yeah.
How's my energy smell today?" It's like, wow, okay.
Yeah, and just a shameless plug. Like this weekend, I got Elena Vensoff on my show, and we are going to talk about physical, mental, emotional, and energetic bodies. Because now we have got cameras which can photograph your aura, so you can actually see around people, that what their energy is. So
Be
I will be,
careful.
yeah.
Be very careful, because
So
again, there are two kinds. The stuff that Malinka is familiar with, that I'm familiar with, is stuff we have studied for more than 50 years, that emerged out of Russia. Dr. Semyon Kurlian Davidovich,
yeah,
the real guy who started all of this, created this wonderful electric plate for photography of biofields around plants, around animals, around even inanimate objects, and they're quite amazing. The aura photography demands a different kind of technology which we don't possess yet. We don't have it. It has to be a little bit outside the spectrum, but the technology does exist in Groom Lake. Just to let you know, these Area 51 technologies and all of this, but we're not releasing it to people because, well, several things it can do. It can actually detect diseases before they become diseases in your body, because it starts with an energy flux and a pool and some problems and some blocks and some issues, and you can see them clearly. And in time to come, when they release all this technology, it will become part of medicine, that we're dealing with light therapy and frequency therapy and all these other therapies. Although frequency therapy is now coming up in the world, which is answering the question of Dobrin and Keegan at the same time. If I can address it, do you mind? Because Keegan says, "Hi, Dr. Mel, you mentioned something about the alien visitation to Earth due to a vibrational frequency. What is the actual frequency in meditation? Is it a certain amount of hertz, like 428, 92, blah, blah, blah? And in terms of alien visitation, do you believe something is going to happen soon? We have a shift and turn the universe into..." Okay. Wasn't what I thought he was going to ask. But when Einstein and Dobrin asked the same question, made the same remark. It's if you're not aware, then miracles happen. Well, the difference between Einstein's idea of treating everything as a miracle or everything is not a miracle is awareness. That's the difference. Because the more aware you become, the less a miracle it is. It's just a given. If you want to connect with Ashley, Hoo-Ha that you liked a lot from wherever.
Oh, you
And
got the last name wrong on that one.
I didn't want to mention last names, but I'm just picking up from your consciousness now. And if you want to connect with her, all you got to think and da da da. But the more aware you are that how powerful you are and what you are able to do, and anybody on the planet can do this with training, with experience, and with courses. And then she's going to call you in the next little while. She's going to pick up the phone. She's going to message you, or something's going to happen. And in fact, you'll be so darn surprised if the day goes by and damn, it didn't work so well. What the hell? She didn't answer, or so on and so forth. That's as if nothing is a miracle, because everything is technology, and technology is in your head. But if everything is a miracle, then unawareness, brings it down, and you go, oh, Ashley called, oh my God, and I needed this particular glass, or this particular mouse, or something like this, and it showed up. It's a miracle. No, if you begin to understand, then this is how this whole law of attraction thing works. Problem is, your brain, from the minute they slapped you coming out of the your mother's womb, your brain hasn't stopped. It's continuously thinking. It never stops. And what are you thinking about at any one time? And if majority of your day is spent in negative thoughts and negative mires and negative so on and so forth, you have created that as a upcoming thing in your life. This is all you will see. If I ask you to focus on things that are red in the room and then ask you what is blue, oh, I wasn't paying attention to that. And that's how the mind operates. You're not paying attention to. So the more you pay attention to this, the more you'll be able to become like those people, soldiers, being taught to communicate with beings not of this planet, and healing, and to be able to have their intentions picked up. So imagine this. What is your intention in meeting someone, being with someone, doing something with someone, even in a bar where you walk away? What is your intention? Because that will be felt unconsciously by someone.
So intention will actually create the impact which you did not even think too much about. Like your intention actually creating your reality the way you are going. And also if you do not pay attention to the miracle, and that's why I say when the things are happening, what happens is when you start paying attention to it, you give out a feeling of gratitude, right? And we all know when my friend called me yesterday, I was so thankful. Actually, I sat in a meditation and I said, thank you, universe, or the energy, or whatever. Because once you acknowledge it with the gratitude, that thing increases in your life, no matter what that is. That could be money, love, whatever you want to create. But many of the people are just ignoring the things which is happening. Like people who say, oh, I want to have a miracle, I want to have money, right? And then they walk out and they see like a penny on the road. Once they walk out of the road, like they are like, okay, that's just a penny, right? That is
panties.
Penny.
What?
Coin.
Penny.
Coin.
Oh, sorry, coin.
Right. See, I don't have that
1
microphone.
10 cents.
10 cents. Okay. So if you don't pick it up and you don't have a gratitude towards that, you are not going to get into these bigger miracles, because you already like.
Now, let's try this. Pretend this is a telephone, iPhone or whatever, right? And you make a call on your iPhone, and it connects with Ashley Hoo-Ha, right? And yes, and once it's finished and you've already connected and you said what you needed to say, do you turn to your iPhone and go, thank you, iPhone. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing what you do best. You don't have to. You will come to a point soon. All of humanity will come to a point soon where you no longer, this works. And so since we use the word miracle, let's go to the first recorded instance of a miracle, say in the Bible. The first miracle is always the one that turned water into wine, right? And here's the thing. I spent a lot of time studying that, and I'll tell you why. I want to know the mindset of Mary, the mother of Jesus, and the mindset of the man, Christos as well, Christ. And some servant came to the woman and said, the party is going to be a failure. We ran out of wine. Some bachelor party, some wedding was taking place, And so the mother said, you see this bucket of water? Take it to that guy over there in the corner. He'll do something. How did she know this? Obviously not the first miracle, but this was an expectation. This was not something supernatural that was expected. She saw him do it. He does it all the time. Mom, I don't want what? Okay, never mind. I want wine. It became wine. Whatever. And then he brought the bucket to the Christos, the Christ, and the anointed one. And he sat there and says, who asked you to do this? Your mother. And he went there, Mom, it's not yet time. What the hell are you doing? I told you, there's a time for things. This is not it. Stop bugging me. Like most kids are with their mother and stuff like that. So he says, okay, come here. And he put his finger in there. No, I hope it works. I hope it works. I hope this is... No, nothing. Just pure expectation. Boom. Here. I think that's a Merlot. That will be useful. Okay, give it to them. So recognizing that your ability to call anyone mentally or to have them come or to have them respond or to have anything happen is your birthright as an extension of the source. And if you are, then the source has created all of everything you see and don't see in reality. The infinite planets and the infinite galaxies that curve in on itself, and then that's only the known universe. What about the ones that are involved in the multiverse, where you have made different decisions and there may be 100,000 billion Ashoks in the world doing what they do best? What conceives of this? So that's a miracle consciousness, where you realize that even in the state that you're in, where you don't have all the things you want, love. I don't have enough love. My husband doesn't love me. My children don't listen to me. Well, okay, get up off your feet, stop crying, and do something about that. Make something more attractive for them to like, and so on and so forth. Complaining about somebody and expecting them to come to you while you're crying and in tears is so unattractive. What the hell? I mean, become the fun person they want to be with. I mean, there's stories. I remember one story I used to tell a long time ago to some monks, about 15, 20 years ago, when I was teaching them. A man was complaining about his wife, and so he thought that she was having an affair out of his marriage. And so he got a private detective to follow her and do...
Yeah, laugh one time.
And to follow her all over the place, right? And so the detective came back and took pictures of the man she was meeting and how they were, having fun. They were kissing, holding hands, doing all kinds of things for several hours. He said, yes, it's definitive. Here you go, sir. These are the pictures, and this is your wife, and this and that. And the man just said, oh no, how can this be possible? I can't believe this is true. He said, yes, it is true. She is cheating on you with it. No, that's not the point. The point is she looks like such a fun person. Why didn't I know that? So you see, the point is this, is that maybe with somebody else she has a more fun and more joy, but with you she's not. So in other words, you know how dynamite is made, right? There's this very volatile... Well, there are two inert chemicals that come together, sulfur and something else. right? And if you try to light sulfur by itself, it doesn't light. It light the other thing by itself, it doesn't light. Mix them both together and they become volatile and they start to explode. So some people are like that. Maybe they're not meant to be together. Maybe it's just one of those things and people want to have more fun. So if you want to create a world where your husband and your wife, or your husband or your somebody else's husband and wife, you want to have more fun with them, or you want them to be in your life, then become a fun person. Provide an environment where they celebrate the fact that you show up instead of curse. Oh my God, there's that person.
English,
Where can I hide?
back
You know,
English,
it's like,
please.
yeah, extinguisher. Somebody stay. Oh, anyway, Dobrin is asking about the 5G conspiracy. I want you to study the scientific literature for 5G radiation, and you begin to discover that yes, it does do a certain thing to your body, but it's not going to help you. It's not going to affect your meditation. What is surprising. Television, your television set. Your television set has been modulated, the frequencies, so that they create a lull state of consciousness that doesn't allow you to think very clearly. Switch off all your TV from now on. All of it, everything. Don't have a television in your house and you'll be fine. You'll be okay. Yasna Furman says, and then the other one really feels you. But what about on the energy plane? What's happening? Does that energy, now that we know that everything is energy, merge with the other one, or is it like sucking one's life force? I'll leave this to you. Ashok is a expert in sucking one's life force. He will answer that for you.
Okay, I don't actually really understand the question.
It's been a while since I sucked somebody's life force. So Ashok, I'm gonna leave it to you.
Can you like rephrase that question for me, because I don't really understand what you just asked me. Like the question.
Use the force, Ashok. Use the force. Imagine you're in her mind. What is she asking? Maybe it's not in words. Maybe English is not her first language. What is she asking? And answer the question that you think she's asking.
So the answer, what I know, that energy, there is a physical body, there is a mental body, and there is an energetic body, and when people do the things, like if you are with another person and everybody has got a different energetic body, when you do certain things, you create holes in this energetic body. Like when you think bad thoughts, it's like the same thing as in a physical body. If you eat bad food, your immune system is down. In an energetic body, when you think bad thoughts and you think bad things, there are holes in the body. And then, like when your immune system is down in a physical body, the disease latches on. In an energetic body, when you have got holes in that energetic system, the other people, the bad people, latches on and can suck your energy. Yes, but if your energetic body is strong, it doesn't happen. And now I don't know what Dr. Mel Gill will say. This is my experience. He may say it's a lot of hoo-ha, but that's how I interpret it.
So if I sum it up correctly, if you do bad things or think bad things, you are holy.
Yeah. Well, I don't know bad things. I think when you even think bad thoughts, you have
what is bad? I mean, I'm just curious because some of the things you say is bad, I kind of do on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, because it's the see, that is the that is the tragedy of the language, that there is everything cannot be explained, and it's everything is relative. What bad and good is depends on so many other things. Believe what
It's
you
true.
read,
It's true. And
right?
I'm
But
glad
I
you
have
said
to
that.
say,
Everything good and bad depends on how many relatives you have. Is that correct?
that is correct, and how many good
Okay.
friends and bad friends you have, it, and who you live with. So yes, if you live with a bad person, which is nobody is bad, but supposedly they suck your energy. Okay, you have to stay. You have to be aware of the energy sucking vampires and the leeches, and you have to protect your energy.
Might be fun. It's been I've never
It is-
been.
yeah.
Anyway, let's answer Dobrin's question. Mr. Mel, in Bulgaria, we have one sentence: "Nothing good is left unpunished." What do you think about that? Where people are doing good things and saying positive words, but things just get bad for them. Okay, like I said before, and what makes the Metasecret not so popular as The Secret, which is panacea for all your ills. Oh, use the law of attraction. You get this law of attraction, law of attraction, law of attraction. And you feel like a magnet every time you walk by a refrigerator. You stick to it like a law of attraction. The reality in life, and nobody seems to want to talk to you about this, is that good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people all the time. Things just happen. Whether they're good or bad is a judgment we make based on the pleasantness of that situation or the unpleasantness of the situation. It's pleasant to experience love. It's unpleasant to experience a breakup, or when somebody cheats on you. What the hell is that called?
Adultery. Adultery.
Huh? Adultery. Thank you. Yes, which is something we're practicing because we're no longer children. We practice adultery. Is that correct? So not childry. I'm just kidding. But regardless, the point is, when you begin to see everything, Dobrin, with a sense of humor, then you begin to realize that the good and the bad are part of the essence of life, and that we welcome it. We talked about this 3 weeks ago when I talked about Nietzsche and his expression, amor fati, love your fate. Your fate is good or bad, doesn't matter. It's how you respond to it that makes all the difference in the world. Say, for instance, if that $1 million that Ashok was hoping to win with his lottery ticket, and he doesn't win. Hey, amor fati, accept your fate. And if he does win, great. If he doesn't win, okay, that's no problem. And if he wanted to connect deeply with Ashley Hoo-ha, and he didn't have a chance to.
Ashley's calling me today. I will be in a lot of trouble.
Yes, and she's going to ask you the meaning. And she said, strangely, I just woke up and the word hoo-ha came into my head, and I was wondering what that meant. Then you'll have to tell her. But you see, the point is, if he doesn't have that happening, he can think of that as an unpleasant experience because he's now, quote unquote, lonely. But if he is a wise man, as you all know he is already, a shaman in the jungle and all of that, running naked with all of the, tribe people and all of this, dangling little bits of wisdom everywhere. So as he does all of this, he and Ashley doesn't return the call. Then he's okay. She must be busy. She must be busy doing something else. Let me call her sister Wendy. Wendy Hoo-ha then calls, and whatever, because Ashok is a free spirit.
What, you think all my friends have got from the same family? They have a last name Hoo-ha?
The Hoo-ha family? You don't know? The whole tribe. I'm talking about the tribe, not the family, the tribe. And
last name is also called a family name in many countries. So if you are from the same family, that's your last name. So I'm going to call it a Hoo-ha family now. Dr. Gill is a part of it.
Hoo-ha. That's actually a good name for this entire program. There you go.
Hoo-ha. Okay,
there you go.
We started a new tribe now. Hoo-ha tribe.
You will be Ha, and I will be Who?
Who?
Hoo-ha. There you go.
who say who? I say ha, hoo, ha. Yeah.
So if we bring it and swing this back to a template example of probably one of the only few people we know on the planet, or from his thinking and his thoughts and his writing, the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, the prince, and how he was thinking in terms of good or bad. What he told his monks, or the people that followed him, his disciples, and all of that, that everything that will happen to you in life will happen to you regardless of whether you're good or bad. Makes no difference. Life is like this. You try your best not to hurt anybody as much as you can, but then again, people will blame you. People will blame you for your absence in their life. If you do something and it doesn't turn out the way they want, they'll blame you. If you don't do anything and they go through what they go through, they'll blame you as well. People are like that. Some people are like that. Some people you want to spend more time with, because no matter what happens, even if the advice you give them fails, they'll say, well, that thing you told me to do that didn't work out so well. But I appreciate your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I appreciate that. You want to spend more time with that person. You want to help that person a little bit more. But if they become a belligerent asshole and say, yeah, it's because of you. It's because you did this, because you're some kind of a nut job, because your job is to predatory, whatever the case might be, you cut them off. You don't spend any more time with them because you don't deserve that. And you, my friend, have a pure heart. You want to help as many people as you can. Let these other people use you as examples. It's okay, no problem. At least they're calling your name out, so on and so forth. And before you know it, you'll be a guest on that show. And you'll be one of that, and the next people will know, celebrate life, and you become the next Joe Rogan. And you start to sell your podcast.
There you go.
Yeah. And this is all you'll ever do, is just do talks and chat with people, get to know them a little bit better, and people see how genuine you are. So you, as a person, will be tending to spend more time with the things and the people that make you feel better about yourself. That will, because like all animals, and we are 98% gorilla, we tend to go towards things that are more pleasant and away from things that are unpleasant. We don't want to spend time with people who abuse us verbally, written word or spoken word, people who curse and swear. We don't want to spend time with them, or at least I don't. And so I'm extracting myself from all of those relationships that are like that, circular and da. I'm just, if I'm alone and I end up being alone, I'm happy. I'm actually, like you said, was it you who said this? Was it you?
Say what you want to say. I'll tell you whether I said it.
You were quoting Buddha, and where Buddha said, or somebody had asked him, is it better to go through this enlightenment path with someone you love? And Buddha said one thing. He said, I think the words were exactly this: if you walk the path with a fool, it's better to walk alone.
I did not say that, but it's very profound.
Right. It's better to walk alone, because then you're not drawn into the fool's dramas and cycles and pain and and schizophrenia and all kinds of stuff, because that's what schizophrenia is: the inability to tell what is real from what is imagined. And most people create their own problems mentally, their own suffering mentally. Like,
so
if I asked,
what is real, Dr. Gale?
You're alive, you're breathing, and you serve as much as you can. You see, Ashok, you and I serve, but we're not servants of anyone. Yeah? No one tells us what to do and how to serve. Right. We just serve.
And I remember, like, in another one of the show, you said, "Oh, I have to stop this show. Like it's getting too long. Like it was around an hour and 15 minutes." And I said, oh, so network is not paying you enough for a 2 hour show, and you left because like who is going to stop us? Who is going to do whatever we want to do, right?
Yeah.
We have free will. I mean, um, I actually on Monday, because we were going to, on Sunday we talked about something we are going to talk about on Monday, right, on the show. And I go over there. I get up early. For me, getting to the show is early because I sleep sometimes 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I got up early. I'm like, okay, I've got a question, and I even forgot the question. I would ask Dr. Gill, I'm going to go on the show, and you did not do the show. And then I was sitting over there. I'm like, oh, he did not do the show. I have to wake up. I said, oh, but I think it's okay because I'm not paying him enough money to do that show. It's coming for free. So give the guy free will a little bit, for God's sake, you know.
No, I just explained that what I needed to do was to create, to learn about editing, and I'm I'm making a lot of mistakes, but I'm learning about editing, and I want to create for the days that I'm not live. I want to be able to create these videos that would be more useful to people. Let's call them little lessons or little.
Will that be called Dr. Mel Gill Dead? Because this is Dr. Mel Gill live, and those days when you put in the video, that is Dr. Mel Gill Dead, not live. Just kidding. Just catching up on your humor, Dr. Gill.
No. I'm trying to look at the DEAD. What could it stand for? Somebody was telling me about something they're dealing with, STD. I said that they were suffering with, and I said, yeah, let's call it Save the Day. You know, STD. That's what that means. And so I was trying to reframe that. So how can we reframe DEAD? What could we do? This is how my brain operates. Just showing you live, right?
Yeah. We will figure that out. But it's the interesting thing is because of that free will, because I can right now in my profession of cybersecurity has been offered a job which will make me like 10 times more what I'm earning. And I refuse that because I have to work under the government or do something which is dictated by the other people. I said, no, I'm working on my own, even though I'm making much less money, but I got the freedom. So freedom becomes very important.
Do everything and dance.
That's my motto. My thing is dance all the time. Don't do anything.
DEAD. Do everything and dance.
Wow, that's magic. Yeah,
it's cool.
That's what it should be called, Dr. Mel Gill Dance.
No, you. I don't dance. You dance, but I just watch people dance. Just but do everything and dance. Yes, they'll be fine. That's your show, by the way. You should rename it. Not Celebrating Live, just Dead with Ashok Thakur. Can you imagine?
Yeah,
caught dead. Do everything and dance.
And when I rename that, I will definitely put in a big honorable mention to you.
I don't need to. I'm fine.
I know that.
This is the brain that comes up with all these kind of things. Why? Because this is how I engage my mind. I engage my mind with things that are more positive all the time, so that I can create small bits of poetry, small bits of. I also paint, and now I have 2 projects while I'm doing this as well. I've created a dodecahedron. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a 12-sided crystal. They're all over the place here. I had them made in China, but I had to create a big one to send it to them. So they say, I want crystals cut like this. They're about yay big, and so. And they're known as the, in some parlance, Buckminster Fuller called them fullerenes. One of the strongest, most powerful, most resilient carbon structures on the face of the planet. And the dodecahedrons are also known as the God molecule for many things. And you'd be amazed at what you can do with them psychically, emotionally, and what. One day I will teach the world how IBM and some scientists are dealing with crystals, not the hoo-ha, but the real, technology that is being used by other civilizations that we don't even know about, technologies that we are 50 years behind right now in technology. Do you know this? That the Department of Advanced Research facility in the United States, as part of the administration, has technology you can only dream about right now, sir. And I'm about to try and make that public.
Wow.
Oh, to answer Sweden, not Sweden, what's his name? Keegan, my friend. What's his name? He's not going to like that, KK. KK is also the name of the hospital in Singapore where people are born. But KK is also Keegan. If he had a middle name like Kevin, then he'd be KKK. But that's a different story altogether. I am honing my mind with a certain set of frequencies, and I'm alternating the frequencies, so I cannot give you a specific one, but I can tell you what they do. If I'm successful at this, then you will see live UFOs in the sky, if I succeed. Because you see, what is available for everybody on this planet is the ability to connect with brothers and sisters from interdimensional spaces and other realities and so on and so forth. To be able to do that, you must first of all take and remove yourself from the idea that this is what you see is real, and that everything that they told you is important is not important. As we're beginning to find out with this COVID virus thing, that money is not important. The richer you are, the more susceptible you are to this, because you're not taking precautions. You're freely going where you need to go, and Madonna has it, everybody has it, and so on and so forth. And also at the same time, it doesn't matter how much education you have or not, it will hit you. So it's known as the great equalizer, this virus. What if throughout all of this, the world is being shown a different way to think and to feel and to be? What if isolation and meditation that doesn't happen in groups? Meditation happens alone. Meditation, enlightenment happens alone. You don't hold somebody's hand and say, we're going to skip to enlightenment together. It's not going to work like that. It's going to be very difficult, because as soon as you have somebody in your life, you have expectations. And as soon as somebody's in your life and you have expectations and you are unenlightened, you are going to suffer and you're going to have pain. But if you're enlightened and in a relationship, then that person is most blessed, because you have zero expectations.
I got it right on that when you said, when you have somebody in your life, you're not going to reach meditation or enlightenment together. So I observed many of the very creative people, okay, who were creating a beautiful, beautiful content and helping people in so many other ways, right? The moment they got into the relation, everything died. They are not creative anymore. They are not doing anything. It's like I keep on seeing that again and again and again. And somebody did ask me a question, like she said, Ashok, what kind of a relationship you want? And I said, not the one which will stop me from doing what I'm doing, stop me from creating. So what is happening over there when people get into these relationships and their creativity is like take a nosedive, or they don't have, I would say at that point, they don't have that much desire to serve. Like, is it what they're doing at all to get onto that relationship, have that person come into their life, and what happened? You can answer.
May I ask you one question?
Yes.
Why would an enlightened person want to be in a relationship?
I have no idea, because I'm not enlightened yet.
Okay.
I'm working towards that. But
okay.
Those people supposedly they said they are in that that field, and they are there to serve the world. And I strangely noticed it, and I was like, okay, is
They
it
say.
me?
They say.
Yes,
They say.
that is true.
Give
Like,
it a
what
little
if their
time.
creativity took a nosedive, though? What happened over there?
Give it a little time, and you'll see conscious uncoupling and other things happening in people's lives, and so on and so forth. Ashok, no. Yeah. He loves me. I love him. I think he's wonderful.
Yeah.
We're not all perfect beings. We don't even strive for perfection. What we do strive is to be happier in where we are, what we are, and who we're with. That's it. That's all we're trying to do. But as we do this and release ourselves from expectation, then you begin to realize that every day, no matter good or bad, amor fati, accept your fate, good or bad, accept your woman or your man, good or bad, amor fati, accept the fate. This is what you are having in front of you. You're not prisoner to it, but you are free within it. And it's not up to the other person to free you. You free you, depending on your thoughts and depending on where you are. So the more you practice what we did last week, or the week before, the opening of the third eye and the way in which I thought. In fact, I went through halfway. I never went through the rainbow thing with people, and to come to the colorless point where you indeed begin to see, and then it's no longer manufacturing things to see. They just appear and you see them the way they are. When you utilize that sight, that ability to see without the eye, it's not even with pictures that you see it. It's hard to describe the kind of visualizations necessary to communicate a picture fused onto intention. It's difficult. It's like going to 4D space onto the beings, right? And if you succeed and you purify your intention to connect, then indeed, this will show. There'll be phenomena all around us, and it will be quite visible. Yesterday, after I finished the meditation at about roughly around 11, 12, we were faced almost till 3 o'clock in the morning, thunderstorms, like the likes of which you'll never believe, that shook the house. Okay, this is the beginning. Okay, can we make it less? Let's make some rare phenomena take place, like, say, for instance, fire clouds. How about we now utilize them and create a point of contact and say, I'd like to chat. Let's talk about other realities. Do you people on your interdimensional space and planet have such issues as the people on this ape-like planet have, where they are killing each other over land and property? They call it war, and they're killing each other over minerals and things, and human life doesn't mean that much to a lot of people, where people are hoarding money and wealth, and they say it's natural and normal and good, but it's not. That's not the real wealth. The virus is teaching us, no matter how much money you have in the bank, you'll die with all of it. So what do? There's a balance between spending it all and having nothing left, and walking a very fine line where you don't need much from anyone. Now, if that's the case, aren't you a happy person anyway, and your joy to bring happiness to a lot of people? Whether you do it with your mind, your words, your emotions, or your body, you decide what you want to do with it. Right?
Thank you, Dr. Gill, for that wisdom. I think you have to, if we are getting to the 2-hour mark, you have to close the show.
Yes.
But anybody listening, if you got more questions or the things, I come onto my show on Sunday, Celebrating Life. There's another show with you on Friday, right? It's Wednesday and Friday. You're going to do it on Conversation Friday? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I will see you Friday. I will see you.
Looking forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Ashok, thank you for joining us. And that was Ashok Thakur. Always such a pleasure to talk to him. we are at that 2-hour mark, and Ashok brought up a very important question. Why do we need each other? And what is the nature of human relationships? We haven't had time to discuss some of my thoughts of this in this program, and I would like to do that at one point or some point. But I remember a poem from the Japanese poet Kikaku. A blind child, guided by his mother, admires the cherry blossoms. It's a haiku, but with so much inherent meaning. Who knows what a blind child sees of blossoms or songbirds? Who knows what any of us sees from the privacy of our own blindness? And make no mistake, each of us is blind in a particular way, just as each of us is sighted uniquely. Consider how each of us is blinded by what we fear. If we fear heights, we're blind to the humility that vast perspectives can bring us. If we fear spiders, we're blind to the splendor and danger of webs. If we fear small spaces, we are blind to the secrets of sudden solitude. If we fear passion, we are blind to the comfort of oneness. If we fear change, we are blind to the abundance of life. If we fear death, we are blind to the mystery of the unknown. And since to fear something is thoroughly human, to be blind is unavoidable. It is what each of us must struggle to overcome. So with this in mind, Kikaku's little haiku poem serves as an internal parable. For in the course of our lives, we all stumble and struggle repeatedly in and out of relationships, and in and out of the grace of the hidden wholeness of life that those relationships can bring. It is in part why we need each other, I guess. For very often our relationships help us experience the oneness of things. And we do this in the course of our lives by taking turns being the blind child and the loving guide and the unsuspecting blossom, never knowing which we are called to be until we learned what we are to learn. That within the roles that have been given to us by the source, from which we all come, flower, blossoms, child, blind, mother, protected, teacher. This is why we need each other in the world. That's why we're all connected. That's why when the Hindus turn to each other and they say, Namaste, what they're saying is that I salute the divinity within you. It is that divinity that connects us to everybody else. You're not beholden to the person you love. You're not even beholden to love itself. But love is a good state to be in instead of fear. Don't you think? And with that, I bid you all good night. We will begin broadcasting tomorrow. Not tomorrow. We will begin broadcasting on Friday. Again, 9:30 a.m. Singapore time. 9:30 p.m. Singapore time. 9:30 a.m. New York time. And 4:30 p.m. Bulgarian time. In the meanwhile, be blessed. Life is an incredible miracle. And even as I go to sleep every night after programs like this, I am in awe of the magnificence and the effulgence of energy that comes from Source, not knowing where that is. It's okay. Because if we can see it, then it's something our mind has manufactured. The fact that we cannot is amazing. Tomorrow, wake up in this miracle of which you are participating. It is called life. Good night, everyone.